Earlier this week, I got in a little trouble by declaring that Trump had called for World War III in Iran. And what I mean by that is that President Trump had called for Iran to be blown off the face of the earth because they were firing on commercial ships from foreign countries like Japan and South Korea. Those are American allies, and President Trump called on those countries to join the war against Iran, thus making it a world war. Donald Trump was not happy about the ceasefire being violated, but now we understand what that entire play was, a show of strength in order to get us where we are today, which is a very, very good place. I want Donald Trump to be victorious in Iran. Polling shows that the vast majority of Americans, including Democrats, independents, and of course, 91% of Republicans believe we've already won the war in Iran. So now it's time to wrap this thing up and get back to focusing on the things that win you electoral victories here at home, which is the only country I really care about, America. I want America to win, and the way you win is gas prices, grocery prices, and home prices, all of those things becoming reasonable and affordable. Gas was at $2 a gallon in January. We can get right back there or maybe even lower. And these are the kind of things that win MAGA for decades to come if we can focus on them and lock them in. And so I very much want the administration to do that. Yesterday, Marco Rubio said that Operation Epic Fury is over from the White House.
Operation Epic Fury is concluded. We achieved the objectives of that operation. I'm not going to, we're not cheering for an additional situation to occur. We would prefer the path of peace. What the president would prefer is a deal. He would prefer to sit down, work out a memorandum of understanding for future negotiations that touches on all the key topics that have to be addressed, a full opening of the strait so the world can get back to normal. He preferred that be negotiated through the route that Steve and Jared have been working and that all of us have been supporting.
Marco Rubio saying that what the president wants is a deal. What the president needs is Operation Epic Fury to be over. And now, this morning, President Trump says it's over on Truth Social. Assuming Iran agrees to give what has been agreed to, which is perhaps a big assumption, the already legendary Epic Fury will be at an end, saying the war is over, and the highly effective blockade will allow the Hormuz Strait to open to all, including Iran. If they don't agree, the bombing starts, and it will be, sadly, at a much bigger level and intensity than before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, says President Trump. Now, Donald Trump is now reportedly moments, seconds, days. Will it happen today? I don't know. But he has a plan in front of him that is going to end the war. U.S. and Iran closing in on one-page memo to end war. Officials say that it is the closest that both sides have been to finishing this conflict. Here we go. White House believes it's getting close to an agreement with Iran on a one-page memorandum of understanding to end the war and set a framework for more detailed nuclear negotiations, according to the U.S. officials. Two other sources briefed on the matter. The U.S. expects Iranian response, several key points in the next 48 hours. Nothing has been agreed to yet, but the sources say that the closest the parties have been to an agreement since the war began. Along with other provisions, the deal would involve Iran committing to a moratorium on nuclear enrichment. That's good. Everybody should want that. An end to an Iran nuclear regime is very important for stability in the region. We can see the chaos that the region brings when Iran has a nuclear weapon or when Iran is popping off. You can obviously see the Strait of Hormuz is closed right now. This is real-time maritime traffic. No one's really going into or out. We've become obsessed with this app tracking maritime movements. It's actually quite fascinating. Nonetheless, as you can see here, if President Trump is able to get Iran out of, away from a nuclear bomb, it has also been central on reorganizing the global economy. Here, look at the difference between this Gulf and the Persian Gulf now. This Gulf, our Gulf, the Gulf of America, is Grand Central Station for all of these red dots. These red dots are these massive oil tankers. Is like a good example of what they look like. These enormous oil tankers that are traveling in. They look like this, and they're the kind of big ships that bring hundreds of thousands of gallons of oil back to their countries, and they're coming from all over the world. You can see here on the map, it is an interstate superhighway right into America and right into our ports. The difference between this and the Persian Gulf is wild. It's actually why the UAE backed out of OPEC this week and said, we're just going to do it ourselves because everybody else is eating our lunch, and wait till they get Venezuela going. Anyway, the point is that this is going to be a very good thing if they're able to open this up. U.S. agrees to lift sanctions and release billions in frozen Iranian funds, both sides lifting restrictions around transit through the Strait of Hormuz. Many of the terms laid out in the memo would be contingent on a final agreement being reached, leaving the possibility of a renewed war with extended limbo, which the hot war has stopped, but nothing is truly resolved. The reality check: the White House believes Iranian leadership is divided, and it may be hard to forge consensus among the different factions. Some U.S. officials remain skeptical of the initial deal will be reached. U.S. officials have expressed optimism about a deal at several points during the previous rounds of negotiations, but the two U.S. officials said the President Trump's decision to back off his newly announced operation in the Strait of Hormuz to avoid collapse of the fragile ceasefire was based on progress of the talks. So behind the scene, there is a 14-point memo of understanding that is negotiated between Trump's envoys and several Iranian officials through a mediator. This has apparently been agreed to. It would declare the war over and start a 30-day period of negotiations on a detailed agreement to open the strait, limit Iran's nuclear program, and lift U.S. sanctions. The negotiations could happen in Islamabad or Geneva, the two sources said. Iran's restrictions on shipping through the strait blockade would be gradually lifted. The negotiations collapse, the U.S. forces would be able to restore blockade or resume military action, the U.S. official said. So this is pretty impressive. Iran proposed a 5-year moratorium on enrichment. U.S. demanded 20. Three sources saying that it would be at least 12 years, one putting 15 at likely. So here's this is your peace in our time kind of situation, right? President Trump can walk away from this. And again, polling already shows that America believes that this is the end, right, of the war, that this is not only the end of the war, that America has won. If President Trump can walk away with a signed memo that says Iran will not be a nuclear power in our lifetimes, and that will bring stability to the global oil markets and to this critical region right here, then he'll be a freaking hero. And yeah, honestly, it hasn't been fun for anybody. I don't want to pay $4 gas. Nobody wants to pay $4 gas. But this would be a massive victory. And I think that a lot of people, if they saw their gas prices and their grocery prices, and if they saw booming economic stability after all of this, which is what would happen. You've already seen the reactions in the oil markets and the stock market. Oil crashed this morning. Oil's crashed down back below $80 a barrel. On the news of this, and the stock market, of course, has ripped. That you can see how President Trump would be able to then make the case. I'm not saying you're going to agree with everything. I certainly don't agree with everything. And as I've always said, I simply want electoral victories for my country here at home. Okay. U.S. and Iran are nearing an agreement, a one-page memorandum to end this entire little excursion. I've now confirmed this myself through Pakistani sources familiar with the efforts. Sources say multiple versions of the documents and details are being worked out, but the details are acceptable to U.S. and Iran. There will be a peace agreement in the next 48 hours. U.S. officials have expressed optimism. Well, there you go. The U.S. and Iran are closest point since the war began to an absolute agreement and framework for peace. Okay, good. That's, of course, what I want.
Of understanding.
And it's extremely positive. Obviously, this is what I was reporting on. Trump was talking very, very angrily about Iran earlier in the week. Trump warned strikes on Iran will restart at the higher level than before if peace deal not agreed to. But we hope that we get peace in our time. We really do. We hope that we get peace here. Is what we're hoping for. Pray for peace. Pray for the president. Pray for wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, right now. And keep on fighting. We're winning. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.